Speakers and leaders, and welcome to LiveWords. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you joined us before, welcome back. Now, LiveWords is a monthly gathering, virtual nowadays, where we come on and you can be speakers or you can just listen to stories. So if you love the Moth and also TEDx, it's basically a combination of the two. Okay, so this is how it all works. Every single month, we have one question to answer. And today's question is, what if tomorrow was your last day on earth? What lesson and story would you share? And so we have featured speakers of the night, but we will also choose 6 random speakers from the audience that can also come up and participate and share as well. So as we are getting things going, I hope that you are all excited for this. Now, if you're watching live right now, can you just tell us where are you tuning in from? I would love to hear, where are you tuning in from if you're watching live right now? And if you're watching the replay of this, you can still type it in. We would love to hear where you're representing and where you're coming from. So I want to bring up this. These are the people who put their names in the. If you want to put your name in the hat, let me know. These people, they just put the name in the hat a little bit earlier. So how it works is, if you want to put your name in the virtual hat, in a few seconds, I'm going to press the button and choose the speakers who's going to come in and speak. But we also have some great feature speakers that's going to be coming up soon. Sharon and Veronica and the rest of the crew. I see you back there getting ready. So I'm going to go back to the wheel of names. Give me one second. Oh, there we go. So we have GIGI, Michelle, Rob, Elaine, Roger, Marlene, who wants to speak. Now, I just want to give a few seconds. If you do want to speak, type into the chat and say, I want to speak as well. Now, if you don't feel like you want to speak, it's okay. You don't have to. Maybe later on when you hear some of our featured speakers, you'll be inspired to speak because of the stories that you hear from them. And again, if you do come up, all our speakers, our featured speakers, and you have the opportunity to answer this one question. What if tomorrow was your last day on earth? What lesson would you share? Okay, so I'm going to pick a few names. Now, these people, they emailed me before. Now, I'm not sure if you're in here live right now. If I pick your name, okay, if I pick your name and you do not pop back on the back end of things, I'm going to have to go to the next person. Okay, so if you like to speak, like Kiyomi, what's a real name? Okay, give me your real name, or I can put Kiyomi Entertainment, but give me your real name. Let me enter your real name before I go into the wheel. Okay. Oh, GIGI, yeah, GIGI, I got your name. I got your name up there. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna click to spin. 1, 2, 3. All right, Marlene. Woo! Hey, Marlene, if you're here, let me know. I'm going to choose another name, okay? And then I'm going to move on. Let's remove Marlene. So we have GIGI, Michelle, Rob, Elaine, and Roger. So Marlene's going first. Let me write that down. And then we have Elaine. Okay. Elaine is going second. So Marlene is going first. Elaine is going second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link, okay? I'm going to put a link on the chat where you can come in the back end. So Marlene or Elaine, if you're in here, click that link. Now, without further ado, we have some amazing feature speakers of the night. And I just want to bring them up just to have a quick chat before we go on. First, I'm going to bring up Veronica. Sharon, I think her screen is shut off. But Veronica. Hello. And Sharon is back. Hello. How's it going? Sharon or Veronica, do you want to take a moment and share a little something about yourself?
Sure, yeah, I can start. I am Veronica. I'm from Bulgaria. You hear that in my story as well, because the story will be from my country. I moved here 2 years ago. I do marketing for life science and pharma companies. And I'm very excited to be on Kids Speakers program.
All right. Well, Veronica, welcome. Sharon, what about you? Want to tell us all about yourself?
Sure. My name is Sharon Walcott, and I am a native of Boston, and I took KITS programs so that I could be a charismatic lioness and to reach my potential, which I'm hoping I'm going to do very soon.
All right, Sharon. Yeah, thank you for being with us. Now, as our featured speakers, I'm going to put both of your names on the wheel. It's just going to be both of you for now, and then we can see who's going to go first. How does that sound?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna pop up the screen. I'm gonna erase these names for now. We'll bring them back. Okay, so I'm gonna erase. Hold on, let me write this down first before I lose all these names. So Rob, Roger. Okay, here we go. Sharon and Veronica. Here we go. Who do you think is gonna win? Or go not win, but go first.
Was this a win?
I know. I didn't know it was a competition. Oh no!
I will go for the blue. I'll go for the blue.
Go for the blue. Okay, you think Sharon's gonna go first. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
I win.
Good thing we didn't put any money on it, or I didn't put any money on it.
Yeah, then Veronica, you're next. Okay, let me put these names back before I forget. All right, so Sharon, you're going first. And get ready. As I'm typing in the names, I'm just saying, get ready. Okay? Let me go back off the screen. All right. Sharon, how are you feeling? Going first.
Fabulous.
Okay. Now, if you want to give some energy and you're watching live right now, give Sharon some energy. Okay. So the question to all of us and to Sharon first, if tomorrow was the last day on earth, what lesson would you share? Sharon, I'm just going to give you the virtual stage. It's all yours. Thank you, Sharon. One thing, speakers, I'm going to give everyone 6 minutes. Okay. When it's 6 minutes, now, that's because our featured speakers, maybe if they go over a little bit, maybe we can give you some consideration, but I'm going to put a timer on. But Sharon, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Kit. So, as Kit Peng reminded me in one of his classes, the most common greeting in the Zulu tribe is Sawubona. It literally means, I see you. You are important to me and I value you. It's a way to make the other person feel visible and to accept them as they are with their virtues, nuances, and flaws. In response to this greeting, people usually say, Chikboka, which means I exist for you. This amazing word, Sawubona, reminds us to be aware of other people's needs and to give importance to individuals within a group. It's more than a greeting. It's a greeting with an acceptance, and it begins with your heart. As Gandhi wrote, be the good you want to see in the world. So when I was going to college, I was a non-traditional college student. I worked full-time and I went to school full-time because I had my own apartment and I had a car payment to make. I had to work. So as I would shuffle downtown, I worked downtown in the financial district. And I went to school downtown too, at Emerson College. And as I would run from downtown, I would cross through the Boston Gardens to get back over to Emerson. And one day I met this woman. She was just sitting there begging. She says, do you have any spare change? And I always give women money because I feel like they have a hard time on the street. So I would give her $1 or two, whatever I had, every time I saw her, no matter how many times during the week. Being a poor college student, that was a lot, but she was important to me because one, I saw her. I saw her sitting there on the curb in the public gardens. She would sit there and she was an older woman and she had like grayish, mostly whitish, grayish, curly hair. And she had a kind face and she wore red lipstick just like me too. And she just had a little bit of mileage on her face and I wanted to make sure she was okay. So I would just every time, and I would look for her. Where's Ellen? Where's Ellen? And she sat on the same bench every day too. And I would sit there, and one day I just made enough time because I was usually running back and forth to class. I didn't leave much time to run, and I mean I sprinted to class. But one day I had a little extra time, and I sat down and I had a conversation with her, and she told me what it's like to be homeless. She told me how you have to be in the facility by 8 o'clock, how men could sometimes beat you or rape you, that living in a shelter was a very dangerous place for women. She gave me inside stories that I wouldn't have read about in the newspaper. I was like, wow. It was just eye-opening to me to hear it firsthand. It was so shocking. And so I tried to give her as much money as possible from that point on so that she would like not have to beg and make it to the shelter in time on the street. And I'd sit there and I'd say hi. And one time I brought her some flowers to cheer up her day. And that was number 2 of Sawubona. I saw her and I never passed by her. She was not invisible to me. 2, she was important to me because she was a woman who could be my mom because she was of that age. And she was living on the street and she had to fight. So her struggle was very, very important to me. And then I started to, 3, value her. I would look for her. I valued her. I wanted to make sure she was okay. One day I didn't see her and I got all bent out of shape. I'm like, where is she? Why isn't she on the bench? I hope she's okay. And then the next day I saw her and I was like, oh. So this went on for like a couple of months. And then it was Thanksgiving time was quick approaching. And I wanted to invite her for dinner. But then, those ugly thoughts popped into my head. What is it going to be like having her in my home? Will she smell? Things that I'm so embarrassed to think, but they went through my head. And I struggled with it for a whole week. And I didn't tell anybody. And I'm like, I'm supposed to do the right thing. And I want to be a good person. But this is my home. How's my family going to react? How are my friends going to react? All those things that play a part that really make a lot of noise in your head. And I thought, no, I'm better than this. I can do better than this. So after a week of struggle, I asked her if she would join me and my family for Thanksgiving dinner. And she was so shocked. She almost I could see she's starting to mist up a little bit. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I did the right thing. I wanted to be the good person to not just say something, but to practice what I was preaching. And she was like, no, honey, I can't because I have my son. And all this time, she never ever mentioned she had a son, but he was in a different shelter. And that day, for Thanksgiving Day, they were going to go to his shelter and have Thanksgiving dinner together. So she wasn't going to be alone. She had company and she wasn't going to be on the street. And I was like, oh, thank God. I didn't feel like I had dodged a bullet. I was just very proud that I had done the right thing to be the good that I wanted to see in the world. And it just brought home to me the Sawubona because I saw her and then she was important to me and then I valued her. And that leads me back to that you should always do your part to be the good that you want to see in the world. Don't wait on anyone else to do it because you need to be the one to make that change. The change starts with you. And then it does. Let's circle back to Sawubona. Sawubona is a beautiful word that symbolizes the importance of directing our attention to another person. It exists to remind us, to help us understand others without prejudice, and to leave grudges behind. You accept that person for who they are, not for who you want them to be. So I see you, you are important to me, and I value you.
Yes, Sharon, thank you for that. Now, if you all love what Sharon was saying, can you type in Sawubona in the chat? Actually, Sharon, how do you spell it if people don't know how to spell it? Is it
It's
S-A?
SAWUBONA.
Got it. Yeah, and thank you. That's a great reminder and a great story, Sharon. I think so often now people don't see each other in the work world every single day situations. Now, if some of you don't know Sharon, I've known Sharon for a little bit now, and she is one of the nicest people around. Right? It's in you. So Sharon, thank you for sharing that. I do want to talk about Sarabona a little bit. How do you feel like people can do it better? If people were listening to your story and like, yeah, this matters to me. How do you think they can do it better next week or tomorrow?
Do what better?
As in, like, okay, take the concept of Sarabona and speak with people or be there for people.
First, you have to see people. You have to see them for who they are. Don't walk past them, but actually see them. I do that with homeless people especially, because sometimes they don't even want the money. They just want to be seen. And then let them know that you're important to them. Let them know that they are important to you. And it doesn't just have to be homeless people. This could start with people in your family members, your colleagues. People like to know that they're valued and that they're important to you. Or do you have any specific questions, audience or Kit?
Okay, so I will take it over, I guess. Kit is juggling with the technology. 1 second. So I just wanted to say that this was a very inspiring story that Sharon shared. And I was thinking that we all have opportunities to learn every day. People we meet unexpectedly, situations we face, just like the one that Sharon shared. And but this, so if this was the last thing I could share today, I would just say one thing: expect nothing and appreciate everything. And this situation happened to me 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, back in Bulgaria, 2 months, well, a few months before I moved to the United States. So I was going to meet a friend for lunch, Victor. Victor is from the Netherlands. He was coming to Bulgaria once a year to co-host an event, so we would usually meet for an hour or two, grab some food. And this time, while we were walking towards a restaurant to grab lunch, we met a girl, a little girl, maybe 9 years old or so. And the girl asked us if we can buy her food. But Victor stood quietly. He, as you can guess, he doesn't speak Bulgarian. He didn't understand. This is not an unusual situation for Bulgaria, though. So I looked around and I saw a supermarket. So I didn't hesitate even for a second. I told Victor, I'm going to go with the girl for a couple of minutes to the supermarket. And as we walk into the supermarket, the girl is telling me that she has 6 siblings and she's hoping to get some meat for her mom to cook for them. And I still remember she picked chicken. So we got the chicken, I paid for it, and we are walking back walking out of the supermarket to where Victor was waiting. The girl was happy, and as she was smiling, she asked me, could I have the receipt? And in that moment, I realized that, oh my God, she wants to return the chicken and get the money back. So I instantly said no. And then I kept walking, and Victor walked with me towards the nearby restaurant. That restaurant turned out to be completely packed, so I had to think of another one. And we actually had to walk back. And who do we meet? We meet again this girl, which you can imagine, this was her spot around the supermarket. So we walk by and she smiles and says, "Hi, you're walking here a lot." And I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say anything. I was still frustrated from what had happened a few minutes ago. But we kept walking, and when we sat for lunch, Victor said, "Could I ask you a question? Why did you not respond to the girl when she said hello the second time?" And oh my God, I did not think of this before. And I didn't know what to say, but then I was like, okay, well, I did not expect her to show me any appreciation for what I've done, but I was kind of felt tricked. I felt disappointed that of what she did. And he said, "Don't expect that people will live up to your expectations that they don't know you've set for them. And also think that you also didn't give her what she was hoping for. You didn't give her the chicken. You didn't give her the receipt. You didn't give her the receipt, but she still awarded you with her best smile." And he was right. That little girl taught me a life lesson. She was ready to take my no for an answer. She was grateful for everything. At least she kept the chicken. But I just thought how many other situations of disappointment in the past I've had where, while thinking that I'm not expecting anything, I've actually been hoping that people would act the way that I would if I was in their shoes. And now that I think of it, how much could we save ourselves if we remember that happiness is in doing our best, but not expecting anything, just being grateful for anything that comes along. So the one thing I want to leave you with today is expect nothing and appreciate everything. And that was my story. I want to thank Kit about this opportunity to share this very short part of my life, but very important part of my life. And I'm really hoping that I'm leaving you with something like a food for thought.
Great. Veronica, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, can we give a round of virtual applause for Veronica? And Veronica, thank you just for jumping in at the beginning. You know, our sound was going off and you went right into the story. That's pro, Veronica. And that was a great story for the people that might be, of course, hearing it for the first time. And you said this is normal from in Bulgaria, right? Are there a lot of is it a lot of kids that's doing that as well, or like people of all ages?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of kids, but they are kind of managed by their parents, honestly. So they don't have the support from the state or from institutions. They're poor families, and they've figured out that people are more likely to give to kids than they are to give to adults. So often it's actually the adult encouraging and sometimes forcing the kid to do it.
Yeah, Veronica, thank you for sharing that story. You know, I think it's expect nothing, right? At the end of the day, I think sometimes, you know, as human beings, we're like, okay, you should do this, or we should get this. But that was great. So thank you, Veronica. Veronica, do you want to help me pick the next people that's coming up?
Yeah, let's see. You went on mute today. Oh, okay. I got afraid that you leave it to me now. You're on mute, Kit. There's some magic you're doing tonight. Pick the next person. I don't see the names, actually. I don't see the names of the people. If you can show them on the screen, I can pick one. Okay, so because I went for the blue the first time, I will keep with my choice. I will pick GIGI. I just, I'm not sure if I can. Oh, okay, she's not on. And it's back to me. So should we wait for GIGI or pick another person? Yeah, I can be the host, but I don't know where you have those controls to let people or to give the spotlight. Okay, Kit, GIGI, Kit is sending the link in the chat, so just join that link and he will give you he'll share your screen. So I'm hoping. Okay, how did I prep for this? Actually, Kit sent us an app, Loom, to record ourselves. So how I was doing it, I outlined the story, put some bullet points, and then I went on and recorded myself and played the recording and seeing where the parts where I like, so I want to keep, where the parts I want to improve. So I did a few recordings until I get to a point that I'm pretty much happy with. But I should say one thing, it was one story that I had outlined in my notes. It was a second story that I practiced on the video recordings. And honestly, it was a third story that I delivered to you. The main message is the main message was the same. The story is the same, but I can't say that I focused on all the details that I had outlined. But still, I think practicing just made things so much smoother, that now I felt more confident talking without even looking at my bullet points. And yes, let's bring on GIGI. I don't know how to do it. I'm hoping that even if you're muted, Kip, you can.
There I
you
am.
can do. Nice. Yes,
Hi.
let's bring on GIGI. I don't know how to do it. I'm hoping that even if you're muted, Kip, you can.
There I
you
am.
can do. Nice.
I can hear
Yes,
Veronica talking.
bring on GIGI. I don't know how to do it. I'm hoping that even if you're muted, Kip, you can.
There I am.
Nice.
I can hear
Yes,
Veronica talking.
bring on GIGI. I don't know how to do it. I'm hoping that even if you're muted, Kip, you can.
There I am. Okay, I can't hear you guys, but I think you guys can see or hear me. So hello, everyone. This is my first time. I am very, very happy that Kit has allowed me to be here. I believe the question was, if I only had one more day, what lesson would I share with people? And I am going to piggyback off of, I believe it was Sharon. Two people right in my head, a little bit what Veronica said, and then also what Sharon had said. it was probably 6 or 7 years old when I first heard Maya Angelou speak. She was on television and she was reading a poem, and I don't remember the poem at the time. I was too young, but I do remember her saying, "Be a rainbow in someone's cloud." And even as a child, it just made me smile. I thought, wow, that's so visual, and I want to be that. I didn't know how to be that, but I wanted to be that. And then, sorry, reading the note. Okay, sorry, I was reading the note. And then as I grew up, of course, life happens. Things don't go your way. And I forgot all about that quote. What I noticed is that when things don't go our way, we sometimes forget our own value as well. My mom passed a few years ago, and I couldn't get out of bed. Like many who have already gone through this, losing a parent, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I did not want to hear from anyone. I lost friends because I was so depressed. I lost my job. And I actually lost value in myself. Now, of course, it's understandable that when you're going through grief, you're going to feel sad. You're going to feel down. But I forgot that I still can bring value to people. So during the pandemic, I started to see so many people not only losing their jobs, losing, of course, loved ones, but losing themselves. And it reminded me that when we are going through things, whatever it is, whatever tragedy, it is so important to try to hold on to the value of self. So I try to think of 3 ways that people can do that. One would be admitting that no one is perfect. People are so attracted to our vulnerability and our imperfections. In fact, that makes them like us more. That makes them see us as even more valuable. 2, appreciating the people who value you. So many times we're chasing after whatever it is, these big dreams, the car we want, the job we want, the education we're chasing after. And we forget the people that have been by our side when we didn't have anything, or by our side when we're on this journey. So remembering to appreciate the people that appreciate you can also remind you of your own value. And then 3rd, understanding that from the beginning, we are already enough. The fact that we made it this far out of how many eggs and everything else, 2 million to 1, probably much better than even the lottery. We are born already enough. Our presence is already enough. So we are already valued. And so with that, it reminded me, I never know, you never know, all the people that you've passed in your life, whether walking down the street, the children that you've seen, ex-friends, new friends, teachers, students, how many people that we have brought value to that we didn't even know, because maybe they didn't say it, maybe they didn't show it, but your smile could have changed someone's life, made their day better. Maybe an action you took, maybe a word you said could have really helped someone and brought value to them without us even knowing it. So if I had one lesson or one thing that I would want to share with people, if I knew it was my last day, it would be to be a rainbow for someone else's cloud. because just your presence can bring value to someone else. Thank you.
Hey, Gigi, that was great. First, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, I wrote down the phrase that you put in last. Can you be a rainbow to someone's cloud? I hope you saved that, or maybe I don't know where you got that from, but if you just created that, use that again in the future. That was gold.
It is the lovely and rest in peace Maya Angelou.
Gigi, I was writing down your notes too. Like be vulnerable. When we're talking about being vulnerable, can I ask you, in the past, or do you have examples of how you became more vulnerable? Maybe if you were even scared, like if someone was listening right now, how do you think someone can actually be more vulnerable?
Oh, absolutely. I was a perfectionist for many years, and I've learned that it held me back from so many experiences that I could have learned from, shared from. And so being more vulnerable in my friendships, being more vulnerable in taking risk. I walked over a bridge. I went to Canada a couple years back, and there's a bridge there. I believe it's almost 10,000 feet up. And for me, being afraid of heights, I would have never done that. But I actually walked across the bridge, and it gave me so much self-esteem. It reminded me that I can do anything. And so being vulnerable with your fears and taking risk, and then also just being there for other people when they are vulnerable and not judging them, but having more compassion.
Yeah, that's great, Gigi. And thank you for coming up and sharing your story with us. I'm also going to bring Veronica up. I have a question for all of you. And Sharon, come on up too if you want to turn on your camera. Can I ask you both, Gigi and Veronica, when you were sharing your story, like how did you feel? And Sharon, who's coming back, like how did you all feel when you were sharing the stories? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Sometimes people can be a little bit nervous. Sometimes they just want to share your story. But I would just love to hear from you when you came up and when you were sharing, like how were you personally feeling? Anyone?
For me, I'll go first. For me, I felt like I was there, like I was reliving the entire situation. Like I could see Ellen, I could see me running back and forth to the park. I could see Thanksgiving dinner. I visualized the entire story.
Wow. For me, I was nervous, but I was also pulling from, I feel like, strength that I had inside me. I hadn't talked about the passing of my mother since maybe about a year ago, and that was only to my family. And it was this year that I wrote a book about it called Cleaning Her Closet, How I Gained Myself After Losing Mom. And that helped me to come out and be more vulnerable, because I had to think my story is not for me. It's for other people who are going through it or who are still stuck where I was. And that helped me to let go and be more vulnerable. So now I look at it as I'm not telling my story for me. I'm telling my story to help other people.
I love what you're saying. Telling your story to help other people at the end of the day, right? It's not just your story, but your stories can inspire others, help them think better, help them to see the world differently. Yeah. Veronica, what about you? How are you feeling? You're muted. Can I not hear Veronica, or can you?
Yeah, I was muted. So when I was starting my story, I was actually thinking of Sharon's story. And I was like, I've asked myself this question before, but when I heard how she approached that lady in the park, I was like, why did I never even ask this little girl what her name was? Like, why did I not see her for who she was? Why did I get that frustration at that time? But just because I had those feelings at that moment, it helped me to understand better situations like that in the future, and react better in the future. So sometimes having those more or less negative experiences is actually how we improve.
Yeah. I want to take a moment to ask if anyone that's watching live right now, I'm going to pick probably just 2 more speakers. Some of the speakers who put the name in the hat, I think they're virtually not here. So if you want to come up, say, yes, I want to be a speaker in the chat. Now, Veronica and Sharon and Gigi, can I ask you, since we're talking about speaking, what do you think, how did you think your talk went just now, your 6 minute, maybe something you liked, something that you think you can do better on? Any thoughts?
I felt
if there are any improvement areas.
Yeah, I felt like mine was a little rushed. I like how Gigi spoke with like pauses and just so calm, and I felt like I kind of rushed through mine a bit. So this is probably something I could improve next time.
It didn't feel rushed.
Or maybe it was just me being nervous,
It
but
was
felt like
it didn't feel rushed.
Yeah, I did not feel rushed.
I would say I'll work on the visuals a little more. I loved when Veronica was talking about the little girl. It just stuck in my head, and I saw what a little girl looks like to me, so I saw a little girl with barrettes or a little girl with braids, but just hearing little girl, I was like, oh, I can see that, and for Sharon, I love that you started out with a quote, and I thought, oh, that's brilliant. I like that,
Courtesy of Mr. Kit.
Yeah, I think it's that like going back to what you were saying, Gigi. Like it's like when Veronica was telling her story, I think we all have a different version of little girl, or like even when Veronica was saying chicken, like I'm thinking of like the Stop and Shop chicken. What kind of chicken was it, Veronica? Actually, was it like fried chicken or something?
No, it was raw chicken that her mom was supposed to cook. It was I think it was chicken breast, honestly.
Yeah, got it. Sharon, what about you? Any thoughts for your talk, or anything you liked or improvement areas?
I feel like I should have painted more color of what Ellen looked like in the situation. Like I could have dug down deeper, but I only had 6 minutes, so it was hard.
So when you say dig down deeper, what do you mean?
Like I could have told you more about what she looked like, her smiles, what time of year it was, where she was sitting in the park. Like it wasn't just a bench. She would sit on this like ledge of flower pot. I don't know if you're familiar, like right across from like where AMC Theater is on the Boston Commons, or WERS. Like I could have painted the picture because it was a very picturesque location too.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Since we're talking about like stories and details, to you personally, how much details do you think people should put into stories? Personally, what do you think?
As much as possible.
So when you say as much as possible, what do you mean by that, Sharon?
Like the imagery, like I could even say like how the air smelled and the colors that were swirling around us, things like that. I think I should have added in, like on a fall crispy day and the leaves were turning. I don't know, just to how Gigi was able to see a little girl. What if I brought it down, as you say, niche down to what the little girl looked like and what she was wearing and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think as much as we can put in, because it helps bring the listener. I'm sorry, I'm echoing it. Am I doing that? Should
Turn it up. I'm not sure.
Okay. I think it helps bring the listener into the story and not just being on the outside, but into the story with us.
Yeah, that's a good one, Gigi. Bringing our audience into the story with us. Well, I do want to say thank you all for coming on. From our featured speakers to GIGI, Veronica, Sharon, just thank you all for coming on today. I'm going to take a second. Robert, I want to address you for a second. Robert, when we go on events like this, you know, and I'm taking the opportunity because you are a nice man, but in the chat below, I'm seeing that you're talking a lot about our other participants today. And it's not that Sharon is not expressing her gratitude, because Sharon, you're one of the nicest people that I know. But when we go on at events like this, right, let's really focus on, well, what's the question at hand, right? The question that all our speakers came on today is to answer, if today was our last day on earth, right, what would be the lesson or story that we share? So let's actually, you know, keep up the positivity, because I think that, I think when, you know, when the world is with coronavirus going on and everything else is going on, sometimes we all can fall back to, not saying any of you, you know, like myself included, sometimes I can fall back to negativity, but now I'm kind of like going into my lesson to share, to share. But I think, you know, if I had to share one thing about my last day on earth, it's how can we be more optimistic, right? Looking at the glass half full instead of it half empty. And that, you know, it's not always easy thing to do. Veronica, Sharon, and GIGI, can I actually, no, tell me if you want to do this. I want to do one last storytelling thing since you are on stage. This is an exercise, and it's another storytelling exercise, but because you're all on stage, I just want to ask you all. I will give you all a word, and then you all have 1 minute to tell, to talk about that word and wrap a story around that word. How does that sound to you all? Are you all up for the challenge? GIGI's up. Veronica or Sharon, what do you think?
I'm giving it
Sure.
a try.
Okay. It's hard to say no when you're live.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. I'm going to give, let's say, Veronica a word, okay? And then Sharon, you go next, but then Veronica, you give Sharon the word later. And then, you know, GIGI, Sharon, you give the word. I'm going to put a timer on, okay? This is just, like, this is even hard for me. Like, I've done this exercise myself. It's super hard. But relate this word back to your life. Just use this word somehow, okay? Does this all make sense? There's no general guidelines or rules. Just try to use the word and incorporate it. Veronica, you ready?
Can you give us a sample?
Yeah, give me a word. Any word. Give more like, what's that? Think more of a word. Think more of a word like passion, heart. Less of like an object. More like power or negativity or positivity or strength. You know, like one of those
Courage.
deeper words. Courage.
I'll give you courage.
Yeah, if you gave me courage, I would say the last time it really took me to stand up for myself and be myself was actually one of the hardest things. As a speaker, I was actually hosting an event. This was my third time hosting an event, but they gave me a script to do the event every single time. But here's the thing. Every single time I went up on stage, I didn't feel like myself. But on that third night, I was something in the back of my mind. I was like, this does not feel like me. Why am I just reading the script verbatim when I am already a good speaker? So something clicked in my mind, and I told myself I had to take the courage and really just go up there and be myself. And I'm so glad that I did, because it was one of the best speaking hosting events that I've ever felt. So the next time, if you ever feel like you need that strength and you're telling in the back of your mind, I need to take the step, don't, you know, FEAR, don't face everything and run. You need to face everything and rise. So take that courage and rise up. Okay, so you see what I'm doing? I'm kind of like incorporating the word into the story.
Good.
No, you know, I usually use that story a lot. So one of my tricks is, do I have a story? Can I reuse that story in almost every single way? Okay, Veronica, are you ready?
Yeah, do I have a story?
Again, anything goes, okay? So Veronica, your word is strength.
Strength.
And I'm going to put a minute.
Oh, that's harder than I thought. But, see, actually, we are stronger than we think. That is one of the things I learned when I moved to the US. I had a whole plan of how things are going to work out. I had an idea of where I want to live. I was in New York. I had an idea of what I want to do. I had an idea of who I want to be with. And just 2 weeks after I arrived, all of those things fell apart. And at first I thought, I am going back to Bulgaria. I am not gonna stay here. I thought, I don't have the will, the strength, anything to stay in this country. But then I talked to a friend, and she said, you are already there. Why don't you just take the time and explore the opportunities? So I did my strength a bit in her support, of course, knowing that I have nothing to lose, because I had already lost everything pretty much. So I did that reminder that I've lost everything, I have no more to lose, just gave me the strength to give it a try, move to Boston, find another job, find another place to live. And it all works out. I'm here speaking to you, and I actually feel great where I am because I had the strength to do it.
Okay. Hey, oh man,
Hey.
Veronica. At the beginning, you said you don't think you got it, but everyone's like, "Oh yeah, just went into it." That's great, Veronica.
It took me a while.
Veronica, do you want to give Sharon a word?
Sharon, I will give kindness.
Kindness. Okay. So for 20 years, I worked at a food pantry in Cambridge, helping the local people in Cambridge every Saturday morning. And they would stand out in the rain, the snow, and early too. They would be there at 6:30 a.m. for a 7:30 opening. They would wait an hour in line just to arrive and to have a place there. And there's like, I would say maybe 15 food pantries in Cambridge. And I asked them, why do you want to stand in line for like 2 bags of food? And they said, because of the way you treat us. I was like, really? And they said, yes, you treat us with respect and you treat us with kindness. And it goes back to that word with sabu, with the, what is the sabukona? Sabubona, is because I see them and they're important to me. I call them by name and I value each and every one of them so much that I would even learn keywords in their language so I could speak to them when they came to pick up their food. So a little bit of kindness goes a long way in a food pantry. Is that a minute?
Yeah. That's like a little bit over. I didn't want to stop you, but because you were about to be done. Wow, right? Can't you guys all see? At the beginning, I don't think you ever thought you would connect the dots like that. But Sharon, I love how you actually went back to Sarabona too. You tied back to it, and then you brought it back.
Sorry, I stumbled on Shako. Which one's the first one? Sawubona.
That's great, though, Sharon. I want to give GIGI a word.
How about grateful?
Ooh. I'm from the Midwest, and I was born. We went to church on Sunday. We went to church Wednesday. We went to church Saturday, and it was all fun because as a kid, I loved going to Sunday school and then also singing in the choir and all that fun stuff. And I knew what it was to have faith, but I don't know if I knew what it was to be grateful. Every time that I thought about toys or candy, it was almost as if I expected them to be given to me. I was so used to getting things. Even at church, there was always cookies or there was always sweets. And so I would assume you go somewhere, you get treats. I don't think it was until I became an adult and I started to notice the little things, like when the seasons change and you get to see the leaves go from orange to brown or green to purple, depending on the plant, or to be able to have a coat to wear in the winter. Once I became an adult, I actually learned what it was to be grateful.
Wow. Yeah, that was great, Gigi.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. You all had such a good way of connecting that word back into it. So I hope you're glad that I volunteered everyone to do this. Well, I want to once again, if you're watching live or the replay of this, I hope that you are loving what Veronica, Sharon, and Gigi are saying with this stories just now, or the stories that they shared earlier. And it's about time that we wrap it up. It's 7. But before we go, Veronica, Sharon, or Gigi, any last words you want to share with the audience or with each other?
It's been fun.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's my first time. I've never heard of LiveWords. I would definitely say to anyone in the audience, if you want to try it, please do. I had a great time.
Yeah. Gigi, I'm so glad you came up. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to our featured speakers, Veronica and Sharon. So without further ado, Veronica, Sharon, Gigi, and audience watching live right now, I want to thank you all. Robert, unfortunately, it's time to close it today, but next time. But thank you all for tuning in today. So let's have a great rest of the night.
Thank you. Be
Bye,
well.
everyone.